Hi, my friends, and welcome into this week's episode of Forte Catholic. I'm so glad that you are here, and I'm also so glad that we have a brand new guest co-host today. Miss Ruvi is here, co-host of Is This for Kids, among with other things. We have a great conversation about movies in general, and about we do a ranking or a draft of best Christian movies ever, faith-based movies ever. We also talk about all sorts of things and being a Christian in a secular world and secular in a Christian world, all these sorts of things. I hope that you enjoy the conversation. If you do, make sure you hit subscribe wherever you are watching or listening. Have fun. And welcome to Forte Catholic. I am Taylor Schroll, and my co-host today is someone who forced her way on to be here. Miss Ruvi's here. Hello, Ruvi.
That's exactly how I do things, Taylor. I walk up to people and I say to them, I was like, how come you've never had me on your podcast? They're like, I'm sorry, what was your name?
Right. Well, what's funny is your name is actually quite difficult. You've changed it because your name is difficult.
It really is. My husband started going by Ruvi in high school. And so when we got married in college, when we were still pretty young, and he has like his emails were all Luis Ruvi. And I was like, I'm going to do that. It's easier.
So, Father Anthony's here, and we're always talking about the Italian things. Mm-hmm. And Ruvi Calma sounds Italian, but he doesn't look Italian. What's going on over there?
He's not Italian. It's not Italian at all. It's so my father-in-law will tell you this very long, kind of convoluted story about how the name is from Spain, from when the Moors ran Spain before Ferdinand and Isabella. So it's a Muslim Spanish name, and the family were the keepers of the Kaaba stone. So it means like way of the Kaaba. Now, that's probably made up, and his family's from Hermosillo, Mexico, but whatever. It's fine.
But it all makes sense because you look like you're a Muslim from Spain. So it all fits you very well.
It's the hijab, I think, that really creates that illusion.
Why did we work so much on your camera when we can't even see your face?
I know, that's ridiculous. We spent so much time trying to keep it from autofocusing in the background, and here I am, veiled.
Well, Katie, the reason I said you forced your way on here is because my old co-host, Mr. Jonathan Blevins, came back onto the show for our Christmas episode a few weeks ago after not being on the show for 2 years. And I was messaging you, or you messaged me about something else, so some conference thing. And I was like, your timing was ironic because that day I was recording with Mr. Jonathan Blevins, who used to be my co-host. And I haven't been in the dating world in a very long time because I've been married for almost 13 years. But what it feels like, what this situation feels like with Jonathan is that he is my ex-girlfriend and you are the new boo, essentially, is what it feels like, because he broke up with my podcast to go join you on your podcast. So you asked to come on mine, and I feel like this is a very different podcast now.
That I stole your wife? I've stolen your work wife? I'm your work floozy?
And I don't blame him. You're much better looking than I am.
Well, thanks. It's worth noting that I actually weaseled my way onto that podcast as well, because that was actually his podcast. And when he was like pitching the whole thing, he's like, oh, I want to do this. I want to call it Digital Dad, and I want to look at all the media and tell parents what their kids should be looking at, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, that's great, John. Moms make those decisions and they don't want to hear it from a dad, but good luck to you. Have fun.
And you're still right. No one listens to that show for John. They all listen for you.
That's not even true. John, if you're listening, and I know you are, he's extremely handsome.
He never listened to the show when he was on it. He barely listens.
He doesn't listen to our show either. Yeah. Our show got picked up by EWTN. It's all the new hotness. And he's like, yeah, I don't watch the episodes. I'm like, I quality check all the episodes. So
yeah, he's a funny boy. So even though I mentioned that he upgraded from me to you, now you have to deal with him. So that's another part that this feels like an old breakup, is that I don't have to deal with him anymore. I've got my own work life now. It'll all be fine.
Yeah, you were always virtual, right? You didn't have to be in studio with him.
You're right. I did not have to. We only did that one time together. We recorded one episode in his basement, where he streams, and this was over. We had his big March Madness party. So we recorded in a house where 55 men had been there, which is already smelly. But the dinner that John had cooked the night before was just cheese. It was just cheese. There was a trace of some meat in the cheese,
Sure.
but we had to open a few windows to get through that recording.
That sounds incredible. Well, so like in between recordings, because we record multiple episodes at once whenever we do this, there's like 15 minutes of episode record and then an hour and 45 minutes of John talking nonsense and then 15 minutes of episode, and his feet are out the whole time. The man never wears closed-toed shoes. It's ridiculous.
He's gross. I won't show you my feet.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
But I will show you that my little slippers are off. So me and John maybe have more in common than I'd like to admit.
I at least have socks on. It's cold, and I record in a closet, as you can see.
Yeah, that's very, very funny. So this podcast that we keep alluding to, this is this for kids is the good name of the podcast, and you keep saying that it was John's podcast, but no one heard about it or cared until it was Is This for Kids with Miss Ruvi. So tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing over there.
Yeah, so Is This for Kids is our podcast where we kind of, it's like as parents, you have a tendency to turn things on, especially if you watch stuff from when you were a kid with your kids. Your kids are a little bit older than John's, so you've probably had this experience more than he has, but like you'll turn on, I don't know, Goonies, and then you realize that they broke the man parts off of the statue of the David, and you're like, oh goodness, there's these parts that you didn't realize were in there, and apparently our parents didn't care at all what we were watching. So this entire shift in the whole, what is that called? The Overton window has completely shifted as far as what we think is appropriate for kids. The Overton window, like what people think is appropriate to discuss in public.
I've never heard that phrase in my life. I love that you had to think about it and then you found the phrase and then I got more confused.
Dang it. Yeah, the Overton window is I talk about it occasionally where like it's just like, back in the day when they would have Lucy and Ricky and they were in separate beds, or like if they were on the same bed in the Brady Bunch, the dad always had his feet on the floor and the mom was under the covers because there was never the implication that these two people might ever be in this bed at the same time together.
They had how many kids together?
Right. Well, none together in the Brady Bunch, you'll recall.
Oh, I don't recall. I've never seen that.
Oh, those were his kids and her kids. It was a whole thing. But now, like, there's this very strange shift in what we think is appropriate for kids. And, like, we seem to be much more averse to the idea that your kid can see something scary or hard or emotionally deep, but super open to the idea of having bondage jokes in the Trolls movie. So you're like, what is this? And so we decided we were going to do this movie and not just do it from the perspective of, like, things you could Google and find out that, yes, there's swears in this movie, but rather like, what are the conversations you're going to want to have with your kid that stem from this? What sort of topics does it bring up? Is this embracing like an entire worldview of critical theory or Marxism? Should we talk about that a little bit? So we try to have a little conversation about those different topics that come up every week.
It's fun. I interact with y'all's show the same way that 90% of people interact with this show, which drives me insane and makes me angry, but it's how I interact with your show. So I apologize before we even but I mostly watch your clips. And here's the thing that I've noticed from your clips, and I want to know if this is put on at all. I've been in podcasting enough to know that what people are getting on this show is 100% of me, and then 10 extra % of maybe I'm exaggerating slightly a little bit. Maybe I was angry at church at a 6 level, and for the show, I'm making it seem like it was a 7 or 8 level. Like, right. There's a little bit of putting on, just a little bit for entertainment's sake, but it's all true. It's not like I'm making this crap up, right?
Sure.
It seems like you two always disagree on whatever movie that you are watching. And as a viewer, I'm like, there's no way that both of you feel so strongly opposed. So when you're planning for this show, do you have to decide? It's like, all right, you have to be the person that hates the Trolls movie this week.
I will always be the person that hates the Trolls movie. I hate the Trolls movies, all of them so much I can't even put words to it. No, we genuinely just disagree most of the time. Like John, John's kids are very, very young. My oldest child is 16 and his oldest child, I think, is 9. And then his are homeschooled and mine have sort of run the gamut.
Your 16-year-old has a 9-year-old son?
No, John's oldest kid is 9. You're so dumb. Anyway, so mine have like run the gamut. Mine did public school. My oldest did public school as a little kid. And then we did homeschool, and then she went to our parish school, and then she went to the diocesan high school, and then she went to the public high school, and now she's all
Y'all are really big fans of consistency in your family.
We are. I'm like one of those people that's like, if it's not working, we're going to change it. So like none of this is permanent. We don't need to keep to anything. I'm not tied to anything I don't want to be tied to. So we've done kind of everything. And so our kids have had a lot of different exposures, and we're converts, and John's a cradle Catholic. So like his perspective is a lot different. He's a lot more conservative with his kids. And I don't think, as I love John deeply, and I love all of our Catholic viewers deeply, but the point of that show is, I mean, yes, it's on EWTN, but we also have a completely secular version that's on YouTube. And the point is to offer.
I just cuss a lot on that one. Is that?
Yeah, it's nudity and swearing, and then I shoot up every now and then.
John shows his toes a little bit more on that
wild. No, like but you can't relate to the culture at large or like speak to anything outside of the Catholic bubble if the only thing you're willing to let your kids watch is The Chosen, which is boring for children anyway. Like you have
boring
to
for adults. Did I say that out loud?
Oh, how dare you? That's
I read the book. It was way better.
It was shorter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just keeps going. We're like 9 seasons into The Chosen. He's still not crucified.
When is he gonna die? Somebody's gonna kill that guy.
How many campsites are we setting up here? I was specifically told we would not be setting up additional campsites. But yeah, so like if you're going to try to have a discussion with the culture at large, you can't just limit it to, so then now they're stuck with me who's out here like, you're fine. Like your kids will be fine. And I'm very normal, like outside of the Catholic sphere.
Yeah, everyone that says that.
I'm super normal. That's
what most serial killers say on trial. I'm very normal.
You usually have to announce it. Yeah. People believe in that. But like outside of the Catholic sphere, the things I let my kids watch are pretty normal. I would even be considered conservative according to the general worldview of the world. But within like the Catholic bubble, I'm the crazy liberal who's out here letting my kids, do all sorts of wild nonsense. And so I think that it's good for us to have a little bit of balance, especially for our secular audience, so that they can see that not all Catholics are John.
It's also funny because it's funny that we're getting your perspective here. We talked to John a little bit about Is This for Kids a few weeks ago when he was on the show, but I knew you were coming on. I was like, I'll let her do it because she's the best part of that show anyway. So I
don't even know that John knows that he's on the show. Like he shows up once a week and he's like, I was told there would be booze and snacks, and I'm like,
yeah, exactly.
Foiled again, John.
I think that's how he does most of his life. But I find myself thinking you're both insane depending on what clip that I'm watching. So
Beautiful.
I'm in this weird spot where I am Catholic. I'm probably in between you guys when it comes to like protecting my kids from certain things, because there are certain things where I like, you're arguing with him. I'm like, he seems insane. There's other things that you're saying. I'm like, she seems insane, but it keeps flipping back and forth depending on what movie, and a lot of it just, I think what I've found is if y'all are talking about something that I like, I think whoever doesn't like what I like is insane. And if y'all and that tends to flip. So I think it's a lot more subjective than objective reviews here, but I am in this interesting position where my kids are between your two kids. So I'm in this transition point of like, when they were little, I was probably a little bit more like John, protecting them from everything. But now I'm like, my son's getting older. And even though my son's getting older, like obviously all kids get older, like that's kind of the point, right? But he's almost 12. But like, so there's certain shows now that's like, am I really, if I only have an hour to spend with my family, like specific set family time, am I really going to be like, girls, y'all go over there because me and the 12-year-old and my wife are going to watch a show that's appropriate for him and not for y'all?
Right.
Or are we going to watch something that's appropriate for all of us? Or are we just going to invite the girls in to watch this show that's probably only appropriate for 12? Like we've done this, like one of the most recent ones is we've always done a reward for finishing a Harry Potter book, as we kind of do up. We have like a little family Harry Potter party, and we invite like our friends here in town that are like, Harry Potter fans, or like my sister or whatever. Like, we ended up having a few people over, and my wife goes all out and she makes like six different kinds of foods, and they're all named kind of something along
She's
with Harry
making
Potter.
the butter beer. Yeah.
It's
nice.
so much fun. So we did that, and like for movies 1, 2, and 3, it was fine because those books and movies are a little bit more for kids. Well, 4 is when Voldemort comes back and kids start dying, and it's like very, very scary. So we were watching it as a family. We didn't even think about it because this is something we do as a family. It's actually a big family moment. Every year we finish a new book and do this thing. And Voldemort comes back and starts killing kids, and parents are crying over the bodies of their dead children. And my youngest started sobbing. She had to leave, and we had to go console her. And it ended up becoming we are now a family of 4 watching these movies here from now on. So
yikes.
It was just very, very interesting. But I saw you nodding your head on Harry
Yeah,
Potter. So that's
Go ahead.
that's one of the things I wanted to do, because you get to talk at these things at length. I thought a challenge for you would be for me to just list off some things, and you just say yes or no, and you can't say anything else.
Oh, I hate that.
I know you do. I know you do. I'll let you expand later, but let's just do a few here really quick.
Okay.
Is this for kids, Harry Potter?
Now, when we say kids, like how old of a kid are we talking? Like my kid?
Your kids are how old?
Well, the oldest is 16 and the youngest is 4.
Okay, I will let you do that. We will change the game here on the fly.
Mhm.
You can tell me the minimum age that could watch this.
Okay.
Harry Potter.
7.
Anything from Marvel?
7.
A little bit more specifically in Marvel, because I'm going to ask some of the ones that I've had some questions about whether my son or anybody can watch them. Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness.
That is a 16 plus. Like that's a horror movie. I think it's even rated R.
Yeah, it was very scary. We did not let our kids watch that one.
Yeah.
The latest Guardians of the Galaxy movie, Guardians of the Galaxy number 3.
I actually am pretty controversial on this one. I do think that's okay for kids over the age of 10.
Okay, the famous, because that was the first one that used a certain
F-words.
4-letter word. Yeah, exactly. Yep. And then most recently, TV show, I don't know if you've seen this one, but Agatha All Along.
Oh, Agatha All Along, I don't recommend for anyone, actually. Not because it's scary. It's incredibly scary. We did a whole episode on it, and the way that they do it, where it just comes out of no. Anyway, it's not appropriate for. I mean, 18 plus. But even then, I would say no, because I believe witchcraft is real, and you probably shouldn't get involved.
Yeah. I watched it and loved it, but I would never, ever, 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 ever.
Yeah, like if you have a well-formed soul, like demons can't get in unless you invite them, kind of thing. Like if you're well-formed and you know your stuff, like obviously Agatha All Along isn't going to hurt you. But if you're even slightly, what's the word I'm looking for? Impressionable, you're probably going to get yourself into trouble. And it comes out of nowhere too. Like there's this one scene where they're doing the 1960s jam rock out, and it's all fun and goofy and 60s glam rock, and then all of a sudden there's like a demon with its face melting off out of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah, fun stuff. You're not very good at this yes or no game.
I suck at it. I'm so verbose. Oh my gosh. I never use one word when 20 will do.
It was very funny that you started off very well, and then many soliloquies. Very funny. So, what do you think are some of your more controversial takes? The ones that made John fall off his chair.
Oh, John thinks everything is controversial. Like in our first couple of weeks, we did Lion King, and he was like, "Lion King's, you need to be 10 and up." I was like, "What are you on, drugs? That's for everybody, you crazy person." I don't know. I can't think of any like specific ones where I told him, but usually anytime that I say a kid at 7 years old, like he doesn't think that Guardians of the Galaxy is appropriate for a 7-year-old. I would say, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, maybe go to 10 because of the F words, but by the age of 10, most kids are swearing.
Chris Hemsworth's butt.
That's true. A little bit of butt, a little bit. But like, I think parents underestimate how much their kids see and how many swear words their kids know. Like, I'm confident if you've gone to the public pool, your kids have heard the F word more than 7 times. Right. And like, if you're not willing to have that conversation, that's always my whole thing, is that Catholics are so weird about having the conversation. and just so you know, the rest of the world is not going to not have that conversation with your kids. So if you're like, we can't watch this because there's, gay people in it. Like, guess what? There's gay people in the world, and they are going to talk to your kid about it. So if you're not ready to be there and have that conversation about how we love those people, then you're going to get overruled by the culture every time.
Yeah, very, very true. So, is this for kids? You can watch it on YouTube. You can listen to it wherever podcasts are sold for free. We're raking in the dough over here.
Free 99. Killing
over
it.
in the podcasting world.
But if you check it out on EWTN, there's like extra Catholic content where we talk about the Catholic stuff, if you're into that.
So you can find it on YouTube or wherever you listen.
Wherever you listen to
Sorry. Okay, it was just too easy.
I'm gonna throw that hamster at you. You're the worst.
You have a hamster behind you?
Yeah, what do you think that is? It's a hamster cage.
I don't know. I can't. I don't know what your life is, man.
Well, she's asleep right now. It's the middle of the day in the winter time. She's sleeping, but sometimes she comes out and you'll see her run up, and then people are like, "What just happened?"
She doesn't enjoy podcasts, or this one, maybe.
She seems fine. She doesn't enjoy dating.
I was first introduced to you. Now you're this podcast queen supreme, but I knew you first as a streamer. Would you even consider yourself a Catholic streamer, or were you just a streamer that happened to be Catholic?
Streamer that happened to be Catholic.
That's what I thought too, because I tuned in a few times and I was like, I'm not sure this is for kids.
All the time people would be like, Katie, this is a PG show. And I'm like, because, in general, as a human, I'm PG. Most people who hang out with me literally apologize to me when they say swear words, which is funny because I'm about to be 40 years old. I'm like, I assure you, I've heard swear words. I'm okay. But
I think it's just because you're small and you look, I don't know, sweet.
I'm small and sweet looking. And then I open my mouth.
I could see myself apologizing to you and like patting you on the head. Like, I'm sorry that I was an adult. Yeah.
So sorry about that. I'm like, guys, it's fine. One time at work, on like a work trip, somebody offered me $50 to say the F word. They're like, Katie, if you say the F word, I will give you $50. I was like, this is the easiest $50 I've ever made.
Yeah. I was like, what, is there a limit to this?
I mean, right? I mean, I don't generally swear as a person. So like when I do, I'm mad, but what do you do?
I would be filthy rich.
Nice. Delighted for you. People won't offer you the $50 if you swear a lot. So you have to cut it back so that people will offer you $50.
I've never sworn in my life then.
Yeah, it's the very first time.
Yeah. I didn't grow up in locker rooms and yeah, no, not at all.
Nowhere near the military.
Yeah, exactly. We didn't I didn't go to all those fancy schools that your child has tried. I went to one public school system and learned all kinds of things.
Same.
It's this. My parents were like, "Oh, this isn't working. Well, try again tomorrow."
That literally, like, I hated high school so much, and I had the same problems my oldest daughter does, where like I just couldn't do it. And so I went to summer school and graduated early, and that was the only option. And she's like, "Oh, let's try online high school. Let's try interpretive dance high school." Like, it's just so much option now. Whatever.
I think I would excel at interpretive dance high school.
I think you would too. I've been meaning to tell you about interpretive dance high school.
Thank you. I could then start dancing at mass. Everyone would love it. No one would complain. It would be great. It would be great.
The Latin American cultures would have a great time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the Muslims from Spain would also love it.
Indeed.
So you did this streaming thing. I saw you cook a lot of things, and then one in particular was very inappropriate. We don't have to talk about that. But what were you primarily doing on your stream?
Wait, what did I make that was inappropriate?
I tuned in. Let's say I had just learned who you were. This is many years ago, maybe right before COVID.
Was it the Jell-O mold thing?
No, you were. I don't know if it was a pork butt, but it was something's butt. And I watched for about an hour, and all you did was make butt jokes and smack it a bunch of times.
First of all, my husband smacked it. I didn't smack it. I was not a pork butt smacker. But
you and I remember that hour very differently.
Very differently. Butt jokes are funny. I don't know what to tell you.
They are funny. I think it's because like I had known who you were, but like kind of from afar. And then I had watched your stream a few other times where you're cooking and you're being, I think my interpretation of you is the same interpretation of the people that are apologizing for cussing and patting you on the head for saying the F word. Like, I imagined you being such this pure and clean person. And then the first time that I actually tuned in for more than 5 minutes, it was just butt jokes and you patting a butt the whole time. And I'm like, I thought this lady was like a Catholic.
So here's the thing is like, I am a very nice Catholic lady, and I am very religious, and I'm extreme, like all of those things. And I think that Catholics put themselves in a terrible position by refusing to engage with or be a part of the culture, or thinking of themselves as holier than thou. Now, if you can't love Jesus without completely separating yourself from fart and butt jokes, by all means, separate yourself from butt and fart jokes. Like, you don't need to make pork butt jokes to be a human. Like, there's different strokes for different folks. But I think that if you can't, excuse me. if you can't make those jokes and if you can't be around people who are crass, then what hope do you have of giving them an example of Christ that they can relate to or that they can care about? So like we have mutual friends, the Crunch Cast guys, who always talk about, like, if you want to have a conversation, if you want to debate somebody, you first have to have a conversation. If you want to try to talk to somebody about the faith, you have to be able to have a familial relationship with them, right? You can't fraternally correct somebody who's not your brother. So if you're unwilling to be friends with these people, if you're unwilling to participate in the world, then you can't hope to be a positive impact on the world. You just can't. They're just going to look at you and be like, oh, there's that sweet little nun lady that nobody ever can talk to. But if you're relatable, if you're okay with making butt jokes, then it's much more likely that you're going to be able to approach those people. So,
well, I am glad to hear that, because we probably go a little bit further than pork jokes here pretty usually. And I'm the people that are currently listening to this probably agree with you, because the people that don't tuned out years ago from
years
this
ago,
show.
a long time ago. Yeah, I was there's a stand-up comedian that I'm hoping to be able to go see next week. James Donald Forbes McCann. Do you know who that is?
That's too many names. No.
It's so many names. He has a great podcast called the James Donald Forbes McCann Catamaran Plan, in which he intends to buy a boat. That's the whole point of the podcast. The whole theme is give me money so I can buy a boat, which is very funny. But he opened for Shane Gillis. And so he's in sort of that set of comedians, but he's also extremely Catholic.
Oh, comedians I don't like. That's the set of comedians.
Sorry. A little bit blue collar, a little bit appropriate to young men. Definitely I am not his target audience, but like he was talking about how he was in Steubenville when he first came to the United States from Australia, and he's like sitting outside with the homeless people smoking cigarettes.
What a downgrade. Australia to Steubenville, Ohio.
He doesn't think so. I mean, he's in Austin now, but
yeah, that's way better. I have lived in both of those places. And,
yes,
I can tell you one is way better.
Yeah. So he's outside. He's like talking to all the people that are homeless in Steubenville, and how they're willing to talk to him and they're willing to have this conversation because he's going to be out there smoking cigarettes. But if you're so holy and you're not going to go out and smoke cigarettes, then you're never going to meet these people. I'm not going to smoke cigarettes, but I will make I called a guy a wiener on the most recent episode of Is This for Kids? It'll probably get me in trouble. Pretty excited about it.
So is this for kids? Is it for kids?
Mm-mm. Not at all. Oh my gosh. If you watch the episode where we talk about Jenny and Georgia, I'm like, let me recite some of the lines from Jenny and Georgia from you. And like, I almost had them pull the whole episode afterwards because I was so embarrassed. I was like, I cannot believe I just said that out loud. My mom's going to hear me say that. And I was just quoting a show. It was horrible.
That's very, very funny. Yeah, it's very funny having a show called Is This for Kids That Isn't for Kids. Because I often wonder, like, most of the stuff that we talk about in this show, it's not for kids, but it's safe for kids to listen to in the car with their parents or whatever. Yeah. So that whenever there is not, and I know that, I wouldn't say I'm perfect at this, but usually when I know that something's going to happen, I always record the intro and outro after we record the episode. So I can go back and be like, hey, there's something we're talking about around this time. Maybe don't have your kids listen to that sort of thing. So This show, also not for kids, but also if you're listening, hello, kids. Nice to meet
kids. Nice to see you.
Well, you can't see me. They see us. That's how this medium works.
Right.
Have you never been in front of a camera before?
I'm brand new to media in general. Yeah, I don't know.
So you have catapulted your fame of smacking pork butts into becoming a Catholic podcaster. So you do Is This for Kids? And also you have another podcast that you don't do with me. And you guilted your way onto this show. I just want to point out that you have at least 2 podcasts, one of which I didn't even know existed until today. How many other podcasts do you have that you're not inviting me on?
I've hidden so many podcasts. I've got them
under the Catholic podcast person, and you've hidden them all from me.
I've hidden them all. Actually, most of them are not so the other one is for the Pontifical Mission Society. So unless you're like in a mission field, you might not know about it. The only other podcast I've ever done was like the one where I learned to do podcasts called Parasocial Anxiety, where I just did like a true crime style podcast just so I could learn how to podcast. So I told the story of a guy who stalked me on Twitch. It was fun.
So the true crime was you were the victim?
I was the victim, yeah. I don't feel comfortable with, I love true crime podcasts, but I couldn't make money off of the worst day of somebody's life.
I shouldn't be laughing, but it's hilarious.
Yeah.
I've never heard of the victim being the true. I love that. I'm just imagining you at the beginning. Time, Atlanta, victim. Will the victim live? Stay tuned for the next 8 episodes with me,
Yes,
Katie.
much, yeah. I thought I did a great job. Oddly, that podcast still gets downloads. I did it like 2 years ago. It was 6 episodes 2 years ago that I just did so I could learn to podcast. And people are like, when are you going to do season 2? I was like, nobody's stalked me again since then. And I'm not inviting
Season 2,
them to.
Still Not Dead, hosted by Katie and Ruvi.
Yeah. I tried to do a follow-up episode about this really amazing county treasurer's election that happened in my county, but nobody would let me interview them because they were all up for re-election this year.
And nobody would let you interview them because they're like, no one will listen to this.
Well, not only that, but they're like, I can't, my constituents can't take away my power as the Hamilton County treasurer. I'm like, oh,
well, they actually can take away your power. That's how voting works.
Not in Hamilton County, Indiana. You run with an R by your name, you're in.
Oh, yeah, that's, we have something in common here in the great state of Central Texas.
Exactly.
Okay, so one of the other things that I would like to do is, since you are typically on Is This for Kids looking at non-faith-based movies and looking at them through a faith-based perspective, so, and that's a good thing, one, because no one watches faith-based movies, and 2, most of them are bad. The large majority of them, you would have a show not called Is This for Kids? Is this for human beings? And the answer would be no, not because they're inappropriate, because they're not good art. That's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, you could do a 50-50 spread of like, is this starring Kirk Cameron as well?
Right,
like,
exactly.
That's about it. Yeah.
So what we are going to do next is, since you probably have not tackled any of these movies on your show because they're faith-based movies and who would watch or care, we're going to do a draft of our top 5 faith-based movies. So you and I are both we're going to do it like a normal draft. Like I mentioned, I'm from Central Texas, and here in Central Texas, we let ladies go first. So you are going to have the first pick, then I'm going to pick, then you're going to pick, and we're going to go back and forth getting our list of faith-based movies, and then we will turn it over to the listeners on our social channels or on the comments on YouTube, wherever you would like to vote. Who won, Katie or Taylor? This is not based on looks. It is based solely on which list of movies you think is better. Otherwise, you have won before we began.
You have a way better mustache or a beard than I do, and I also have a zit right here. So
I like that you corrected mustache, because your mustache is coming in pretty well.
I've been working on it for 40 years. It's coming in. Really proud.
It looks great. I'm really proud of you as well.
Thank you.
Faith-based movies, based on favorite faith-based movies. It doesn't have. We're not looking at the movie critic ratings, whatever. Just Katie's list, Taylor's list. What is the best faith-based movie in your estimation? Ready, set, go.
The Prince of Egypt, and it's not even close. 1998's The Prince of Egypt.
That was my number 3.
Well, that was foolish of you to put it that far down.
Well, I mean, even if it was number 1, I wouldn't have gotten it.
That's true. That's why I moved it. When you said we were going to do this as a draft, I was like, okay, then I got to move some stuff around here. Give me 30 seconds. Now I'm kind of thinking I want to move this one up here too, but I don't think you'll go for it. So go. Yeah, okay, you're up. Prince of Egypt.
Okay. Well, what's the reason? Why is the Prince of Egypt the best?
Prince of Egypt has the most amazing music. It had pop culture crossover because they did the Mariah Carey and who was the other person? Oh, it was Whitney Houston. She's dead now. That did the When You Believe song. It was like a #1 Billboard hit for a very long time. But the best song in that is it's not sung by Patrick Stewart, who does the voice of the character, which is unfortunate. I can't remember who the singer is who takes his place. But Through Heaven's Eyes is the most incredible song
Look
in
at
there.
your life through heaven's eyes.
Yeah, exactly. It's fantastic. It's not, there's a line in there that every time I hear it, I want to cry, even though it's just like one line. He says, when all you've got is nothing, there's a lot to go around. And I'm like, oh, I love it.
It's a good one. We watch it a lot during like Passion Week, Easter week.
Yeah.
Those readings come up. So that's a family tradition of watching that movie. And as the music nerd that I am, I love almost every song in that movie. It's very, very good.
Nice.
Okay. My number 1, and this is, again, I could be a little bit more strategic here, but I'm not going to be strategic. I I would be surprised, but also thrilled if you have heard of this movie. So I'm taking it my number one because it has to be on my number one list because I have to stay true to myself. Have you ever watched The Way, the Martin Sheen and his son's movie?
No.
Yeah, I've talked about it. I've talked about it a little bit on this show, but even if I did, it was a very long time ago. I think it is the best faith-based movie because it's just how I view, like, even like the ministry that I do. Like, I am not the kind of person that's going to come give a talk and somebody's going to go from crackhead to saint in that day.
Yeah.
Like, my goal is get just a little bit closer to Christ. Whether if you show up and you're completely closed off to the church and you're like, you know what, maybe I'd come again if there was a dinner here or something. I'm not going to mass. I'm not going to adoration, but if there's a dinner date night and me and my husband can come, maybe I'll go. Like, that's a huge win for me. If you're somebody who, like, maybe you're a Protestant and you hate Catholics and you listen to me talk, you're like, oh, he was just a normal person and I don't hate him. Maybe all Catholics aren't crazy.
If I see him in the parking lot, I won't run him over with my car.
Right, exactly. Cool. And then, like, if people are into their faith and they take another step closer, great. That's what this movie is in a nutshell. And I think it actually kind of formed a lot of that in me. I watched it when I was in college. And it's the story of Martin Sheen and his son, that's not Charlie, the one that's not crazy, Emilio Estevez.
Yeah.
So he's the son in the movie, and he dies climbing this mountain. He was told not to go up this mountain because it was bad weather, and he dies. So the dad, who's this the grumpiest of person, played by Martin Sheen, the grumpiest person, not into his faith, all about like money and career, and is estranged from both of his sons. There's a little bit of truth. There's a little bit of truth to that in his real life.
Probably.
He goes and he does The Way, the Camino de Santiago. So this famous like pilgrimage that I had never heard of before I watched this movie in college. And he goes on it, and he's a grumpy sourpuss throughout the whole thing. He meets a guy who is there. He meets me, essentially, just a guy that is not doing it for faith-based reasons. He's just fat, and he needs to do this. He took off time from work, and he just needs to walk for 60 days to not be fat anymore. There's another lady who had dealt with a rough relationship previously. She just needed some time to get away and kind of free herself. And she was trying to quit smoking. And then by the end of the movie, she takes out a cigarette and she's smoking again. Like, everybody in the movie, when they reach the Church of St. James at the end of The Way, the dad is only slightly less grumpy and slightly maybe just moving through the first stage of grief for his son. The fat guy maybe lost 4 pounds, but actually has a experience with God really for the first time in this church. And the crazy lady's only slightly a little bit less crazy, but it feels so much more real to me. They're like, that's just how my life is. I don't go do something faith-based and my life has changed and everything. It's like a little bit better, and yet I still leave kind of grumpy. Like, it was just so real to me. To me, made the best faith-based movie, because all these other faith-based movies are like, he was an atheist and then now he's the priest or whatever. It's like, leave me alone. That doesn't happen.
Right,
except
that's
for
not happening.
1 out of 9 million people. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's so much of actual life, isn't it? When you're like, people are like, oh, I prayed the rosary. I started praying the rosary, and now my life is a million times better. I'm like, I did not have that experience. Doesn't mean I'm doing it wrong. Like,
exactly.
maybe tone it down a little so the rest of us cannot feel like failures.
For sure.
Wow.
Okay, you're number 2.
Half of my remaining answers, I feel like now are not good enough because you said that. Well, my number 2 is Jesus Christ Superstar.
Who in the world do you think you are, Katie?
I'm just taking musicals, man. I'm a big musical fan. 1973's Jesus Christ Superstar is my first introduction to like difficult theology, right? So I told somebody when I was in high school that I love Jesus Christ Superstar because my parents listened to it when I was a kid. I just liked the music, and the Herod song is fun and whatever. And I was like, what? It's just the story of Jesus' last days, but like through the perspective of Judas. And this person was like, I don't give a crap what Judas thought. He's in hell. And I was like, oh, hang on. I mean, maybe he is. But like when I was in high school, like that was the first challenge to like, hang on, Christ had to die. This was a situation. If I was in the situation, how would I feel? Because I could feel empathy for this person who probably is in hell. But like being able to see, but for the grace of God go I, was really my first opening.
But for the grace of God go I.
Yeah. What did I say?
I don't know.
Anyway, but like it was my first introduction to something a little bit difficult, that like these people, that he seemed to have good intention. Maybe the path to hell is paved with good intentions, but like it was just it was challenging to me, and it's not known for being a challenging movie. So there you go. Also, I know a lot of the New Testament from that movie specifically.
So you misremember much of the New Testament.
Well, no, like whenever we do whenever people on the, what is that, on Palm Sunday, where they read everything and then you have to yell "crucify him" and stuff. I'm like, "Crucify him, crucify him, crucify him, crucify him," and then
you're way
29!
too happy about
like
one of the most harmful things we have to do as Catholics every year is yell "crucify him" as loud as we can.
Yep.
And you're like, "Yay!
Yay! I know this song." Yeah, I don't know. I like it a lot. That's going to get me in trouble with the people. It's like when I say, never mind, I'm going to keep that thought in my head.
Oh, okay. That was interesting. I liked you locking your mouth. That was a very funny mental thing. Okay. I went and saw that local play in Lake Jackson, Texas, small town Texas. I went and saw that local play, and it was one of my neighbors whose kids did not want to go, and she had 2 tickets. And so she asked my mom for permission to take me, and I went. And so I saw that at a very young age, and I was like, this is weird. And that's my entire recollection of that experience.
Yeah. Although, like, go watch it again now. Like, the 1970s version, the whole Simon the Zealot thing is very interesting when you look at it. It's like a modern political perspective for, like, the people who are evangelical Christians who have their religion and their politics really deeply intertwined. It's very interesting to compare them. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Very good. I'm going very chalky with my second one.
Okay.
My second one probably should have been both of our first picks. Maybe Prince of Egypt could have been one, and this probably should have been my first pick. The Passion of the Christ. It's a classic. I think it's the best Jesus movie ever made. It's not corny like most Christian stuff is. It's actually very serious. Mm-hmm. I watched it when I was. What year did that come out? I can tell you exactly how old I was. 2002. So I was.
That's a guess. That was a guess.
12. Oh, it was. Okay, very, very good. The Passion of the Christ. 2004. So I was in junior high. I was 7th, 8th grade, somewhere around there. And I had a Houston Astros hat that had the Enron symbol on it because Enron was the first. That was the name of the field when it first opened. And then, so it was also signed by Jose Lima and Craig Biggio, one of which who gave a lot of autographs. The other was my favorite player of all time. I had that hat in junior high Taylor sitting there in the theater, and crucifixion scene was fun. The whipping scene when Jesus is getting scourged, I chewed through the bill of the hat. I'm wearing a hat right now. And you know how like when like you're being tortured and they get, you know, all the times you've been tortured and they give you that like metal bar or wooden bar. Yeah. Oh, mass, husband, kids. Well,
my kids go to private school. You remember.
So, you know, they give you something to bite on so that you don't break your teeth or whatever. That's what I was doing with my my Astros Enron hat. I chewed completely through the bill of my hat watching that movie. It left a very big impact, and I learned Aramaic through that. I'm just kidding. I don't.
Wow. I speak it daily. My postal worker speaks Aramaic. It's crazy.
Very good movie. I don't think much more can be said about it. That's my number 2.
Nice. I'm not a huge Passion of the Christ fan, so.
I saw that on your face.
It's totally fine. I just the whole time I
want my movies to be in English. Y'all better learn my language.
That's it. It's mostly the Aramaic that bothers me. Yikes. I mean, it's good. It's sort of like Schindler's List, right? Where people are like, "Oh, my favorite movie is Schindler's List." I'm like, "You mean to tell me you would rewatch Schindler's List?" And people are like, "Oh yeah." What? Like, it's just so hard to watch and so difficult. I would never rewatch The Passion of the Christ because it's so hard to watch.
Yeah, the story of Jesus dying for you is a difficult story. Katie.
It's a difficult story. It really is.
You mean that this story of a man being tortured was made real for you? How dare they?
I don't like it.
Make the gospel come to life for you? I'm going to watch Jesus Christ Superstar. There's nothing you can do to stop me.
I don't know how to tell you this, Taylor, but the gospel is not the crucifixion. The gospel is the resurrection.
Yeah, which also happens
Sucker.
in that movie. Oh, speaking, it actually has your favorite thing. The resurrection has the holy butt, which we all know.
The
is your
holy
favorite
butt,
thing.
but there There was a news article that came out when they announced that they were going to do a sequel to The Passion of the Christ. And it was like, Mel Gibson gets the original Jesus for The Passion of the Christ. And I was like, the original Jesus?
The original Jesus. The second coming is just so that he can be in a Mel Gibson joint.
Really buried the lead there, didn't you? Jeez.
They tried to bury the lead too. Hey!
That was great. Good work.
All right, number 3 for you, my friend.
I don't know which of these to pick. Okay, so the rest of mine I picked based on like having Christian virtues, but not necessarily being Christian movies. So my third pick is Dead Man Walking, 1995, starring Susan Sarandon, directed by Tim Robbins. So keep in mind that this was starring and directed by people who are not fans of Christianity, but it is about a nun, Sister Prejean, in Louisiana, who ministers to a man on death row.
Is that the other Katie's sister? Katie McGrady's sister?
Not that one. There's a different Sister Prejean. She's not a sister of life, but it's a true story about this nun that was on death row, and she was a spiritual director to a death row inmate, and he's guilty, like completely guilty.
Oh, wait. You said that weird. You said she was on death row. I was like, what did she do?
No. I mean, she was on death row as a person, but not actually serving time on death row.
I was like, how have I not heard this story?
So I like to tell people about Gomer when this is my friend Gomer. He's in prison.
He's in
all the time.
prison.
He's in prison usually. Yeah. So it's like this whole story of like an actually guilty man who's going to be executed, and still talking about like the humanization of that and the pro-life necessity not necessity, the pro-life case around the death penalty.
It's very, very good. Very good.
There you go.
I also have, I will allow it because I have one movie on my list that is not a faith-based movie that, if you ask me, is this for kids? It would not be for kids, but I think it actually has a very good message. Now, whether the methods to reach that message are good, probably not, but I like it overall. I'll get there eventually.
Boys in the hood, boys in the hood, boys in the hood, boys in the hood.
Yeah, exactly. Is that? I don't think you want to win this, do you? You really want to lose this draft. You're coming in. No one ever beats me at anything on this show because everyone thinks it's hilarious for me to lose everything. You might be the first person to ever lose a game on this
Prince
show.
of Egypt, Jesus Christ Superstar, Dead Man Walking. I'm killing it here.
You're the dead woman walking here in this game. Okay, my third one might be the closest to corny Christian movie that I can get, but I think it is made by the same people that have made every corny Christian movie possible. This one in particular, not corny.
Okay.
The movie Courageous. Have you seen this movie? It's made by the same people as Fireproof and Wheel of Time or whatever. Wheel of Destiny.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's called.
Starring who?
I don't know. Your mom?
Kirk Cameron.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're bad.
My
and
mom.
most of it,
Jeez, Taylor.
You put me on the spot. That's the only thing I know what to say.
Kirk Cameron's in all of them.
Child. They're all real bad. Before that, they were bad because they had zero budget. Then they made so much money from Fireproof, which is the marriage one.
Yeah.
They made so much money from all those that they could actually make a good movie in Courageous. Then they made some other movies that also were better quality, but better quality filmmaking, but still not a good story. It's still a cheesy story. Courageous is the one that I really liked. And I honestly, it might just be because of the first 3.5 minutes. I think it's one of the best 3.5 minute shorts of Christianity that I've ever seen in my life. It's a guy at a gas station, and he has a really nice truck, and he goes into the gas station, and somebody starts stealing his truck because it's a very nice truck. And you see this guy coming out, and he's sprinting. You can see how much it looks like he has so much anger on his face as he's chasing after these guys. He's sprinting with everything that he has, and it looks like it's all completely about, you're stealing my money, you're stealing something that belongs to me. It's all about my pride, and I'm a man, and you're stealing my thing. And he gets to the truck, pulls the guy out, hits him, and then the whole reason he did it is you look back and you see that his baby is in the little baby seat in the back of the truck, and he just goes up and he holds the baby, and that's all he was doing. Just like as a dad, like you had me from 2.5 minutes. Were there some cheesy moments in the movie? Sure, but I liked that it was a similar reason to why I liked The Way. To this one, The Way didn't have any corny moments. This one definitely did, but it was 4 guys in very different stages of life, and none of them had the grand, I was a crackhead and now I'm a perfect Christian father. It was all like, there was one guy who was like, he worked at the church and like he was like the pastor and minister. That was the Kirk Cameron person, I think, right? And then there was this other guy who was he's just a dad and he's dealing with teenage girls, his teenage daughters trying to go date, and that's not going well.
Yeah.
So kind of some real stuff there. There's another dad who actually was, I think he was either alcoholic or into drugs or something, but he had just gotten a job as a policeman. He was trying to better his life, and he had a kid out of wedlock, and they were trying to, get married and do things better now. So it's just like all these guys in different stages of fatherhood. And I think the timing was good too. I watched it right as I was becoming a father. So I think of, like, it's the most like, this is a Christian movie made by Christians for Christians, which are usually really cheesy, but it's the one that I liked, so I figured I'd put it on my list.
Nice. I like it.
But you don't like the movie, The Face.
No, I don't. I hate the movie. From a movie perspective, it's terrible, but I'm happy for it. Like, it's one of those things where, like, you really love a song and you're like, we're going to listen to the song together because you're going to know how much I love this song. And then you're like, I think I needed to be there, like, in the life place that you were, because otherwise you're just sitting awkwardly in a living room listening.
You mean you haven't ever been a young father, Katie? Come on.
No, I've never had that experience. Not really. The only person that the song thing works with is Luke Carey. So, yeah, because it's always Five Iron Frenzy.
All right, number 4 for you. Let's pick another secular movie, Katie.
I Hate You, number 1. And number 2, Les Miserables, 2012. You can call it a secular movie if you want, but the hero of that movie is saved by a bishop, so bite me. And there you go. Les Miserables is the story of a convict. He goes and steals the silver from Monsignor, whose name I can't think of the last name. Anyway, yada yada, and the guy is like gives him the silver, and it's this entire movie about death to self and like self-sacrifice and giving yourself up for other people. And I apparently am only picking musicals with so far just one exception. Dead Man Walking has no musical interlude.
This is the wrong draft, Katie.
I really like musicals. No, but I do think like Les Mis is a sort of like, it ran on Broadway for 10 million years. It was incredibly popular. It won 1 million Oscars, and it is all Christian themed. So other than the fact that actually, no, they lose the French Revolution at the end of that. So we're good.
We're good.
Like, it's all Christian. They lose.
So here's what's funny about this. I feel about your movie how you feel about Courageous.
How can you hate?
Story, very good.
Uh-huh.
I mentioned earlier, I was a music major, and I love Hugh Jackman is probably one of my favorite actors.
Are you about to say the thing that's going to steal my heart? Can I write it down?
Sure.
I'm going to write this down, and if you say the thing that I'm thinking, I'm going to be so excited. Wait, hold on.
I please hold. I'm holding. Do 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 do.
Okay, ready? Go ahead.
Okay. I love him. I love him as a singer. I think he's a tremendous singer. Let's say the highest note in his register is a B flat. They had him singing from C to D the entire movie. It was just constantly a note, a half note, a whole and a half note higher than he should sing. And every singer was terrible. Russell Crowe is the worst singer I've ever heard in my life. All the people that they brought from Broadway and that Eddie Redmayne guy that they got from the Harry Potter movies, incredible singers. But the main 2 people, terrible. What does that say?
Russell Crowe-Javert was horrible.
He was horrible. He sucks.
So
Russell
bad.
Crowe's the worst. He went to the Vatican and he treated it like a museum. I hate Russell Crowe. He was bad. That can actually be forgivable. But taking Hugh Jackman, who is a great singer, I'm a professionally trained singer. If you ask me to constantly sing a note and a half above my highest note consistently, you know how most singers, they can hit their high notes once, maybe 2-3 times in a full hour and a half concert, because it takes a lot to hit your highest note and make it sound good. They took his highest note and were like, actually, your lowest note in this movie is going to be half a note higher than the note that you can sing. And it made me so angry.
I didn't notice that. I thought he did fine. I didn't think it was like, it didn't hurt my ears, but I'm not a trained singer. But Javert, like the Russell Crowe Javert, he's like, I was born inside a jail. You're like, do you have feelings, this Javert? Do you have any feelings at all? Rage, perhaps? Could you pick a feeling? It was so annoying.
He's the worst. Russell Crowe also in the single worst faith-based movie of all time. Noah.
Oh,
He made Noah
so
a serial
creepy.
killer who wanted to kill babies. It's like that. We could do another movie that's worse faith-based movies, and that's it. And then all the other movies made by the people that made Courageous.
Yeah, exactly. But for the fact that Russell Crowe was awful, Les Miserables is still a great movie. Still into it.
Man, I'll never forgive them for what they did to my boy.
I understand. All right.
Okay.
So you're 4?
My number 4. I'm glad we don't have as much crossover as I thought. My number 4 is the one that I thought you were going to argue with me on, but you cannot argue with me because of all the secular TV that you've been showing up here. The Book of Eli. The Book of Eli, you don't know, is a faith-based film until the last 2 minutes of the movie. Yeah. Which is incredible because it is a Denzel Washington action flick movie where he is a badass. He is shooting people. There is so much death and gore. Is this for kids? No, it is not. But the end of the movie, they're all fighting over this lasting famous book that's gonna whoever has it's gonna be the leader. And he's Denzel's blind, and he goes all the way through, and you realize at the end that he doesn't have the book; he is the book. He has memorized the Bible, and there's no more Bibles left in this post-apocalyptic thing. If they kill him, the Bible is done, and the end of the movie is him reciting it to a scribe. The Bible lives on because of blind Denzel Washington. One of the greatest faith-based films that is only faith-based for a minute and a half.
Yep. We were just talking about that movie recently. I don't remember in which context. I think it was at church even. And I was like, no, that was such a great Christian movie. And people are like, what? And I was like, no, but really.
Right. Yeah. More deaths in that Christian movie than all other Christian movies combined.
It's fine. Don't worry about it.
All right. I'm interested in your last pick, how terrible it's going to be.
My very last one is a Christian movie made by Christians, directed by what's his bucket that directs The Chosen. Can't think of it off the top of my head now. Colin. Never mind.
The Holy Spirit is what they want.
Dallas Jenkins. Dallas Jenkins, I think is his name. Jensen. I don't remember. Don't worry about it. It's the best Christmas pageant ever. Just came out this year.
Really?
The best Christmas pageant ever was. It has like a 96% rate on Rotten Tomatoes. It's aggregate, like between the popcorn score and the tomato score.
Y'all did an episode on this, didn't you?
We did. Critics liked it.
I've only heard of it because I follow your social media stuff.
It's so good. Like, it's the kind of movie that you can turn on in front of all of your secular relatives and they won't get pissed. Like, you turn on Courageous in front of your secular relatives, they're going to be like, Kirk Cameron's trying to make me love Jesus again. But, like, this is a story about,
how dare he, honestly.
Always. He's constantly trying to make me an evangelical. I wake up in the morning, I'm like, Kirk, how'd you get in my bedroom? It's weird. He's like, I have coffee. Would you like to accept the Lord?
Kirk Cameron just got canceled.
Poor Kirk. He's like, I've never even seen you in my life.
I thought you were Kristen Bell.
It's so good. It's just like, it's the kind of, like, the Christmas Story, which is the most accessible way to approach Christ, right? Baby Christ is not terrifying to anyone. Being born humble and lowly and being presented by children who are sort of cast out of society, being accepted into church. And it's great. It is probably the best evangelism movie I can offer. So next Christmas, when you have family over at Thanksgiving and they are, not religious, turn that on in the background for the kids. It's good. It's so good.
Yeah. I'll have to check it out. I really will.
You'll love it. It's so good.
I cannot believe that I'm going to get quite possibly the most famous faith-based movie of all time.
What did I forget?
Probably the best faith-based movie of all time. You forgot it. I did not forget it. I can't believe it's here at 5. Fiddler on the Roof. A musical, Katie. A musical. You didn't pick the best faith-based musical of all time. Oh, Jews aren't faith-based to you, Katie?
I picked The Prince of Egypt, you monster. It's about Passover. Oh, that's
wonder
so
of wonder,
good.
miracle of miracles. God took a tailor by the hand.
You suck.
Sunrise, sunset. To life.
My little daughter knows whenever we cheers at dinner or whatever, what I always say l'chaim because I think it's the best cheers.
Literally
like
the best thing of all time.
Every other one is like just a greeting. It's like, oh, hey, hi. Like cheers means hi. Salud means hi. L'chaim means to life. Like it's
to life.
Why are you doing any other cheers? And so my little daughter knows that. Oh man, You got
Matchmaker,
Fiddler.
matchmaker, make me a match. Find me a new
You
co-host because
find-
Katie took mine.
Hang on. That's not true.
It is
I didn't
true. It's
take
exactly
him.
what happened.
He left you, and then
You-
I turned
you-
up.
Yeah. Well, yeah, sure.
Oh.
I wonder why he left me. Yeah, because anytime somebody gets to somebody new, they definitely weren't talking before. Oh.
I don't know.
All right.
I wasn't in that meeting.
Yeah, I'm sure you weren't. Okay. Wait, what was your... Oh, yeah, your 5 was the best
Christmas pageant ever.
Christmas pageant. I didn't write it down because it was going to take too long to write that all down.
It's a really long title.
I had some honorable mentions.
Oh my gosh.
They're not good, but impactful wise, the VeggieTales movies. You got it. VeggieTales TV was where it was at, but you got the VeggieTales movies. We're going to give them an honorable mention.
Yeah, from a evangelism perspective, it was really just silly songs with Larry.
Yeah,
but sure.
Very
Yeah.
good. Very, very good. I picture most Bible characters as fruits and vegetables because I grew up in the VeggieTales generation.
Yeah, I just recently re-listened to the Book of Esther through the Ascension app or whatever, and I was like, I mean, Father Mike Schmitz is great and all, but like, wouldn't it be better if it was like Mordecai the whole time? That would have been so much better. Because the Esther, they say Mordecai the whole time. Makes me laugh.
Father Mike's great. He's no match for a vegetable.
No, he's no peas, is what I'm saying.
Another one that's an animated one that is telling the Christmas story, and I don't think they were as successful as Prince of Egypt, but the same idea as Prince of Egypt. Let's just get a bunch of famous secular people into this movie. The Star. Did you watch The Star? It came out like 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, we put it on our list of approved Christmas movies for Christians.
Yeah,
that we put for EWTN. Yeah,
it's so good, so fun. I have to mention it here because I had the guy who made the film. I had him on the show a few years ago, whenever it was coming out.
No way.
He's actually the cousin of one of the guys that I grew up with. So a fun little connection.
Nice.
For me that I know the guy who made that movie, which is nice. Very, very fun. So you only took one of mine. You took my number 3 and didn't take any because you refused to pick Christian movies after the second one.
I like my Christianity in a packaging that could be sold to anybody. That's how I like my Christianity.
Well, I like this show whenever it is ending, and that's what we are doing now. Katie, this was great. I love
your own podcast?
No, I don't hate it. It's just been an hour and 3 minutes, and you have children that are knocking at the door.
Yeah, that's true. My little daughter would very much like me to make her lunch.
I would like you to make me lunch as well. Can we make that happen?
Yeah, just come on over. Did you go to you didn't go to the Eucharistic Revival, did you?
No, I didn't.
Congress?
I don't have any money. It costs money to go places.
You could have slept in my backyard. I live right there. I live in
No, thank you. I don't want to be Kirk Cameron and showing up randomly at your house.
Kirk would let you sleep in his sleeping bag. You just have to listen to his spiel about Jesus for a little bit.
You really want Kirk Cameron to get canceled?
No, I don't. I love Kirk Cameron. I'm sure he's great. I just don't know. I don't understand what happened after Growing Pains. He was like a bad kid on Growing Pains, and then he grew up and became.
He found Jesus, Katie.
That's right.
What happened.
And not from Robin Thicke, or Alan Thicke was his dad on that movie. Robin Thicke is a whole other problem.
He is. Yeah, very much so. I love how I'm trying to get you to promote yourself, and you're like, remember Alan and Robin Thicke?
I'm so bad at self-promotion. Okay, here are some things that I am promoting.
I promoted Is This For Kids. Where else do you want people
Pipe down.
To go?
Here are the things that I'm promoting. Go to Is This For Kids on YouTube and click the follow button, and then just comment on everything about how much more attractive I am than John. That's number 1. Number 2, follow the Frontiers of Faith podcast. You can go to onefamilyinmission.org and check out Frontiers of Faith. It's a really great podcast. We talk to missionaries and we get to hear all of the ways that they're presenting Christ around the world, and it's incredible, and I think you would like it. Number 3, and very excitingly, is the Good Egg Fund. You see my good egg in the background over here. I run a nonprofit called the Good Egg Fund. We give grants of $500 or less to people who want to do good in their own community. So if you've ever had a situation where you were like, I want to help somebody, I want to embrace the Catholic, virtue of subsidiarity. I don't know if we call that a virtue, but you know what I mean. There's somebody near me that I want to help, but I just don't have the funds. Not having the funds should never be the reason you don't help. Go to goodeggfund.org and ask for a grant, or you can go there to donate. We'd love to have it. What else do I want you to do? Oh, I'm running the Chicago Marathon in October. So go to mrsruvi.com and give me some money.
I'm not going to do that. I thought you wanted me to join you. I was like, I will not be.
No, I'm running. I'm running it to benefit the Our Lady of the Angels Food Pantry in Chicago. So if you would like to help out the poorest of the poor in Humboldt Park, Chicago, you can go to mrsruvi.com and click on a picture of me crossing a finish line, looking very tired, and give me money.
That might be the only time John looks better than you. It's when you're crossing the finish line in a marathon.
It could be. Well, that was a 10K in that picture. It was only a 10K.
Okay,
but
so yeah. You still beat him out there.
Yeah, still better looking than John. Very exciting.
Well, I will put all the links down in the show notes. Katie, this was awesome, and you might be invited back even if you don't invite me on any of your 90 podcasts that you have.
I'm not allowed to invite you on any of my 90 podcasts because I don't own any of them. I just happen to do them.
You own Is This for Kids. John doesn't own anything. He's not in charge of anything.
That's true.
That's true. All right. This is fun. Thanks for coming on. She'll be back at some point in the future. I'll be back next week. See ya. Thank you for watching and listening to today. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, hit subscribe if you haven't already. Also, we are in need of a few donors. If you want to support the work that we are doing here, this is a Catholic nonprofit, and prices have been going up on things, so we need some help in the financial department. If you want to support some great Catholic media, not only our shows, but the other shows that we work on their editing and production, and also just all the other ministries that we are involved in, you can go to fortecatholic.com/donate. You can give a one-time donation, you can give a monthly donation. All of it helps. I really appreciate you and for watching and listening today, for your prayers and your donations. Until next time, love you.